This is Charter Local Edition. We're at the Club 20 Fall Meetings in beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. I'm joined now by State Senator Kerry Donovan from District 5. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Public lands are huge in your area and the district that you represent, but it's always a touchy subject as how much of public land should be used.
It is. You know, particularly on the western slope and in the western United States, we have much more of a higher percentage of our land in general is federal public lands. And so it's a unique issue to certainly Colorado and to my district that has the second highest percentage of public lands when compared to other Senate districts in the state. Over the past couple years, there's been ongoing discussions about what the future of public lands in our state should be. And from when I travel around the district, I have 7 incredible counties that kind of span the Continental Divide and have different, we have BLM and national forest and wilderness and national monuments and almost every type of public land that you can think of. And people just continually comment on how important those are to their quality of life, and often they're the economic drivers of these small communities. I mean, most of our ski resorts are located on our national forests. Chaffee County relies on Browns Canyon, which was recently designated as a national monument, to be their critical summer driver. So it's important that these public lands remain public and remain with the same access that they do now. The conversations that started about transferring these lands back to state control is a scary conversation for me, and it's gained some traction that I'm not comfortable with and I've tried to push back on. Because once the state takes over these lands, there's very serious questions that we need to answer about if we can afford them. You know, one forest fire would devastate the entire state's budget. So we need support from the federal government on issues like that. And it's very likely that in order to keep some of the public lands open, like the Maroon Bells or Grand Mesa, you know, or McInnes Canyon, you know, those public lands that people know by name, we would probably have to sell off other lands that people don't know by name, but that may be your favorite camping spot that you've been going to since you were 4.
And they're just huge for tourism, and trying to have the state control those would be incredibly difficult.
I think it's very difficult, and I think it would really change a foundational aspect of our state, which is every postcard, I think, has public lands in it, basically. And so, you know, trying to keep that message out there, continue to advocate for the support we need to keep those public lands running at the level that they are, but to make sure that our public lands stay public is very important to me.
You talked about the 7 different counties that you represent, and they're vastly different. You have Eagle County, who is economically doing much better than Delta County. How do you balance that, or where is your focus right now in trying to improve the economy in Delta?
Yeah, you're exactly right. We do have these 7 counties that are driven by different economic engines, you know, from ski resorts to traditional agriculture, summer tourism to extractive industries like we see in Delta. The Eagle County and Pitkin and those that have the tourist-based economies are doing better. They still have issues that need addressing. High cost of health care, I-70 transportation still needs the attention and the support of the state. But an area like Delta County that's really seen the basis of their economy get pulled out from underneath them as we see a transition away from coal and those coal mines close. So the focus that I've had is how do we preserve these small communities, particularly with the proud heritage that surrounds coal mining, where you have multi-generational families that have lived in Hotchkiss or Paonia and have worked those coal mines and helped keep our lights on. We have to figure out how to help those families stay in those communities if that's what they choose. And so I've been working on legislation that tries to approach it a little bit more creatively and see how we can bring the resources of the state to the communities, because often we have great programs in the state, incredibly talented employees, but the small communities can't always seek those resources. So we need to bring those resources to them and keep these small communities in place.
Right, and one of those resources, as we just closed today, is rural broadband to try to lure small businesses into some of those regions.
You're exactly right. If we could leverage the resources of the state, find some creative avenues to get broadband into these communities, then they really don't have any barriers to envisioning what their own future can be. So they can come together as a group group, talk about where they want to be in 5 and 10 years, and if we have robust, active broadband wiring their community to the rest of the world, then they can be almost anything they want to be.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This is State Senator Kerry Donovan from District 5. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
And you're watching Charter Local Edition. I'm Keira Bresnahan.